History is filled with royal heirs who lied, poisoned, and betrayed their own blood to secure a crown. But there is one ancient prince who had the throne in his grasp, possessed every tool needed to keep it, and voluntarily walked away. To understand why his choice is so unusual, we have to look at the crisis his nation was facing. Israel was heavily occupied by the Philistine Empire, and the Israelite army was vastly outnumbered. They lacked basic military technology. Because Philistines controlled the blacksmiths, only King Saul and Prince Jonathan possessed forged metal weapons. In the ancient Near East, these rare metals marked you as the absolute authority and legitimate ruler. Jonathan begins his adult life holding all the cards. He has the royal bloodline, the exclusive military technology, and the physical leverage required to violently secure his succession. He was also an incredibly capable commander. With his nation paralyzed by fear, Jonathan initiated a secret two-man raid against a heavily fortified Philistine garrison, bringing only his personal armor-bearer. His logic was simple but dangerous. He believed that if God intended to deliver Israel, the math of human armies didn't matter. 2 men were exactly as effective as 10,000. The assault worked. The 2 men neutralized roughly 20 enemy combatants in close-quarters combat. This sudden strike triggered a massive, supernatural panic that cascaded through the entire Philistine camp and routed their army. Because of this heroism, the Israelite troops developed a fierce loyalty to the prince. When King Saul later issued an irrational death sentence against Jonathan over a broken fasting rule, the army outright mutinied to protect their commander. Jonathan is a proven war hero, loved by the people. By every biological and political metric, he is perfectly positioned to inherit the crown. Which makes what he does next logically baffling. An existential threat to Jonathan's succession arrives in the form of a young shepherd named David, who skyrockets to national fame after killing the Philistine champion Goliath. Every royal instinct of the era demanded that Jonathan view this rising star as a rival. To protect his own dynasty, the standard protocol was to eliminate the threat immediately. Instead, Jonathan views David as a brother. Recognizing that God has chosen David to be the next king, Jonathan approaches him and initiates a lifelong binding covenant. Here is how he handled the transfer. Jonathan physically strips off his royal robe, tunic, belt, bow, and sword, handing them directly over to David. By relinquishing the specific garments and weapons of the heir apparent, Jonathan publicly abdicates his right to the throne. He was not bullied into this position. He deliberately chose to lay down his own ego and inheritance to align himself with what he recognized as a divine plan. Jonathan's humility stands in sharp contrast to how his father handled the exact same situation. King Saul watched David's popularity grow and rapidly descended into a murderous, paranoid obsession with the young warrior. The tension breaks during a new moon feast. When Jonathan defends David's absence at the table, King Saul explodes. He screams that Jonathan's kingdom will never be established as long as David breathes, and then hurls a spear directly at his own son. Realizing his father is consumed by hatred, Jonathan orchestrates a secret counter-operation to save his rival. He arranges to use an open field for archery target practice as a cover story. He fires a series of arrows beyond a young servant boy, shouting a prearranged code. The signal warns David to flee immediately into the wilderness, and the 2 men share a brief, weeping farewell before separating. The Prince of Israel used his own military capability and tactical training to successfully hide and protect the man who was replacing him. The 2 friends meet covertly one final time while David is hiding in the wilderness of Ziph. Jonathan comforts David, explicitly stating that David will be king over Israel and that he will gladly serve as his second in command. But history plays out differently. Jonathan never gets to see David crowned. Remaining fiercely loyal to his nation and his duty, Jonathan fights a brutal battle against the Philistines on Mount Gilboa, where he is killed in action alongside his brothers. When news of the defeat reaches David, his grief is profound. He pens a famous lament, crying out, "I grieve for you, Jonathan, my brother. You were very dear to me. Your love for me was wonderful, more wonderful than that of women." By choosing his covenant over a crown, Jonathan proved that lasting greatness is not found in clinging to power or demanding entitlement. It is found in the rare, selfless courage required to celebrate the elevation of others, even when it costs you the throne.